Hello and welcome to Go Ballistic. I'm David Friel. This is our look ahead to the Premiership action at the weekend. I'm joined by a bronzed Andy Devlin, back from your Spanish holiday. Andy, great to see you. Had a good time?
Yes, I'm delighted to be back.
And you're straight into the coalface and a big game. Let's start with Rangers. You're a man with your finger on the pulse. Rangers up at Tannadice. Philippe Clement did his Q&A, did the Rangers Charity Foundation, great cause, during the week. He was pretty bullish and said Rangers can still win the league. Do you think there's many Rangers fans out there who agree with him right now?
At the moment, no. I don't think there would be. Even your kind of hardcore Rangers supporters would agree with that. He's obviously got to say these things. But I mean, we are middle of September, they're 5 points adrift already, not just of Celtic, but of Aberdeen, of course, who have been so impressive this season. It's a long way back already for Rangers. Philippe Clement's in must-win territory already on Sunday, going to Tannadice. It'll be a difficult game. You saw the reaction of the supporters to the defeat at Celtic Park before the international break. This has been building. We've spoken about this since the summer. We were out in Holland, obviously covering Rangers pre-season. Philippe Clement was warning of this. He was warning this was coming. Lack of funds made available for transfers. There is no doubt in my mind, David, that the transfer business that Rangers did, didn't meet his expectations for a start. I think certainly in the final 2 weeks of that transfer window, Rangers needed 5, possibly 6 players in the door. They've fallen well short of that. And the gap between Celtic and Rangers has never been as big. Certainly not just on the park, but off it as well. There's a huge chasm there, and that was played out in the manner of Celtic's victory at Celtic Park. And that, I think, the manner of that defeat, the way that Rangers started quite positively. Dessers has his obligatory chance, which he misses, and then the heads go down as soon as Celtic score. So I think it has been building, the anger. I've spoken about apathy as well and discord, but there has never, this relationship between the supporters and the players has never been more fractious. You go back to when Rangers were down in divisions, there was unity. There was a determination on everyone's part to get the club back to where they perceived it belonged. There isn't that connection there now. This has been brought on by 3 or 4, possibly 5 years of mismanagement, not backing Steven Gerrard, having won 55 and stopping Celtic 110 in a row. So it's been building, it was coming, it was over the top, obviously, some of the scenes. So, of course, Philippe Clement has to go. He's addressed the supporters during the week, as you say. But he will know this is a game on Sunday, that the Rangers need to win, and they need to win well.
You'll be speaking to Philippe Clement later today out at the Rangers Training Centre. Do you feel he will have been a bit upset by the kind of confrontation outside Ibrox? He was obviously videoed, and fair play to him for fronting up and speaking to fans, and where the Rangers fans agreed with what he was saying. You could see him talking about 4 shots and goal. Do you feel he's had 2 weeks probably to stew in that? He spoke during the week, but he's not really addressed it yet. Do you feel that kind of maybe hurt him a wee bit, or do you think he just knows that's part of the course if you're at a big club like that and stuff happens?
I think looking at it, I think he was taken aback by it. I think there's elements of the club that he understands and he gets. Latterly, though, there's been some comments that haven't made sense and have gone a long way to appeasing supporters. For example, on the back of the Celtic defeat, talking about Ross County and that kind of thing does not help the Rangers manager. He has got to avoid things like that, statements like that. I think he'd be taken aback by the level of anger that was directed towards him and his players. I feel sorry for Philippe Clement because, as he has said, he's on record as saying it. What he was told was the case, and we're almost a year down the line since he came in. What he was told was the reality in October. It's far from the reality in the here and now in terms of finances and everything that was made available. They had injury problems last year. He vowed to correct that in the summer. A lot of injury problems already. And of course, he's got players like Berjami to come in and potentially make their debut against Dundee United. But yeah, he will be feeling, I would say for the first time, he will be feeling the pressure, no doubt about that.
Just finally touching Rangers, a man that's going to be feeling the pressure. And again, there were scenes outside Ibrox after the Celtic defeat, James Tavernier. How does he recover from that? Because it feels a bit toxic around him. And again, I think it's pretty unfair. You know, I'm not saying James Tavernier's best days are ahead of him. They clearly aren't. But he's taken the brunt of a defeat where I don't think many Rangers players get pass marks.
I don't think anybody get pass marks, and James Tavernier's problem is, and I think it was kind of mirrored, if you like, of Connor Golson. I think he had to leave in the summer, James Tavernier. And I know he's got the testimonial in his sights. I understand that. He's probably outstayed his welcome. I think he's perhaps lost a yard of pace. You looked at that Hearts game in the opening day of the season, and you're thinking, wait a minute here, mentally there's always been kind of question marks around about his leadership, his ability to lead. What the Rangers manager does he retain the captaincy moving forward? It's obviously something that Philippe Clement will have to take into consideration. It'll be interesting to see if that's part of his thought process ahead of the Dundee United game. It's going to be extremely difficult for James Tavernier to recover from this. Certainly some of the scenes were unfortunate. They're over the top, and the guy's he's achieved. He's won a title. He's led Rangers to a Europa League final. He's obviously won the Scottish Cup, but he is tainted by this period of Celtic dominance. He has been the leader, or the so-called leader in that dressing room, and the fans. As a result of that, he's the focal point for a lot of their anger at the moment.
You mentioned Celtic, things are clearly more stable at the moment. Big game on Saturday though. Against Hearts, Stephen Naismith needs a win. Brendan Rodgers preparing for the Champions League. And I'd imagine a Champions League game Celtic feel is winnable. Slovan Bratislava. Do you see a home win? Do you see Celtic with any issues at all?
No, not at all, David. I've watched Hearts a couple of times this season. They're really struggling for confidence, and last year the Hearts were good going forward, fluid, but they seem to run the last European game. They ran out of ideas pretty quickly against a Celtic side brimming with confidence, as you say. Very impressive in the way they went about defeating Rangers. But Brendan Rodgers will have one eye on Europe. That's is where Celtic and the Celtic fans will feel this is where they're going to be judged this season, because you look at Rangers and Aberdeen, as we've touched on, have made a good start. They could mount a challenge, but how long are they going to be able to sustain that? So certainly, it's a great Champions League draw for Celtic. Winnable games at home. So Brendan Rodgers and the players will be wanting to make their mark on the Champions League this year. I think there'll be changes on Saturday, and I don't think even last season, Hearts going there, good team, dangerous side. Hearts have shown very little this season to suggest that they'll go there and cause an upset.
You get to spend Saturday afternoon with me, Andrew, at St Mirren against Killie. Two teams that did so well last season, early season forays into Europe this year. Probably took its toll a bit, but that was a cracker.
Absolutely. I was just looking at it there, actually. It's almost 4 months to the day where Killie went to Paisley, got that 1-0 victory, which secured fourth place. They were obviously had already qualified for Europe, but that cemented fourth spot. There was terrific scenes of celebration, and understandably so, on the back of a fantastic season for Kilmarnock. Yeah, they've struggled to manage the demands of midweek European football and then going back domestically. They're obviously out of the League Cup as well. So 1 point so far, not 1 goal scored as well, so there's work to do. And Derek McInnes, to be fair to him, at the get-go this season said that the focus would be on Europe. They're out of Europe now, so it switches back to the domestic front. They'll need to take something on Saturday to show that they've got Europe out of the system. But it's set up because St Mirren, as you say, have been playing really well as well, so it is set up to be a good game.
You mentioned Aberdeen going for a 10th successive win under David Friel. It's an incredible start. Yeah. But against a Motherwell team who have lost players, 17 signings this summer, but they seem to just keep going again, get good results, and I think in young Lennon Miller, again, scoring for Scotland, 21s, 2 assists during the week, I think they've got a star in the making. Yeah,
absolutely. He speaking to a few chaps at Motherwell, when they say that, recently players, you've had Alan Campbell coming through, and obviously David Turnbull, James McFadden, perhaps the poster boy in recent years, but Lennon Miller is going to be spoken about in that bracket and beyond, I think. Delighted that Motherwell were able to retain his services in January. The worry was that somebody would come in and poach him. I think staying at Fir Park will benefit Lennon Miller as much as it will benefit Motherwell, because I think he needs another season of development at the club. And again, credit to Stuart Kettlewell. He was under a bit of pressure last season, but he just seems to be able to, when the chips are down, he seems to be able to get a result from somewhere. And then, the changes at Fir Park this summer have been incredible. The amount of players that have come in, they've hit the ground running. But Aberdeen, especially with Pataudry under the new manager, I watched them a couple of weeks ago against Kilmarnock, funnily enough, and they were, it's two going on 3-4. They were so comfortable. very attacking set-up, good going forward, but, a lot more solid in the middle of the park and at the back. And I thought, that's what struck me, because Aberdeen lost a lot of silly goals last season. He seems to have ironed that out so far. Early stages yet, but what an incredible start he's had.
Dundee travel to Ross County for another game, and Hibs are also at home with St John's. I think that's a big one for David Gray. But Andrew, can I just also get you to touch on Willie Collum TV, the new VAR review show? You've been with Willie's career all the way through. You remember him as a young pup with a whistle. Fair play to him. Open, transparent. I watched his review show. I heard him on the radio as well on Wednesday night, and he's come out and said, I've got nothing to hide, we want to be open, we want to look at these decisions. I think fair play.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what everyone's been calling for. Supporters, players, managers, after games you hear them, the VAR situation, release the audio. This is exactly what we've been looking for, calling for. And absolutely, huge credit to Willie Collum for, he promised changes, he promised he would, the status quo, wasn't acceptable any longer. They had to make changes. I think the impact of VAR this season hasn't been anywhere like the severity of last season, for example. So, they're perhaps learning on how to use that properly. So again, to me, this is another positive step forward. Even from the referee's point of view, to get their side of things across, because I think that's key to it. Once you understand what the referee has seen, why he's made the decision, why he's made the call. The Rangers St Johnstone one of late was probably the most recent example of that.
Andrew, thanks a lot for your time.
As always on a Friday, I'm now joined by Jim Delahunt, Scottish Sun's top bookie basher. Jim, how are you? Another big weekend of football ahead.
Yeah, it's the Premiership seems a lifetime ago after all the chat we did last weekend about the international scene. But it was only 2 weeks. I did have to have a look back at the scores just to double check one or two this morning before we come on. But it was only 2 weeks ago. They're back in action this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And then just a couple of games next week, because there's another break because of the League Cup quarter-finals. So it is a bit stop-start, but that's the manager's problems, and we just have to interpret that as we're going along.
And on we go. As you said, there's 5 Saturday games, so let's start on Sunday, because Rangers have been such a hot topic in recent weeks. Up at Tannadice, Jim, not an easy venue. Jim Goodwin's side going well. What do you think?
Well, I mean, somebody needs to go into the history books and tell us the last time Dundee United faced Rangers in the Premiership when they were actually above them in the table. So that's going to be an interesting scenario. But of course, Rangers are favourites. They're 2-5 and 4-11 to win the game. That, of course, is not based on anything they showed against Celtic, because that was another very disappointing performance. I know that the manager will come out with the stats, and he did come out with the stats, and some people believe them, some people don't. But Rangers certainly have to up their game to start putting points on the board. It's a very difficult game at Tannadice, as you say. I've been lucky enough to see Dundee United a couple of times this season. I've been lucky enough to tip them to win a couple of games this season. But funnily enough, I tipped them to draw at Tynecastle 2 weeks ago, and they got the victory. So they might even be improving. I know that the manager seems to think that he's taking just a little bit of time to bed his players in, but the league table doesn't tell you that, because they're going very well indeed, sitting in third position, admittedly, after 4 games. You sometimes look at these games when the old firm sides, Celtic and Rangers, come off the back of a bad result and they're going away somewhere in the Premier League, and you think this might be an opportunity to maybe drop points. I think on this occasion it might well be. I think Dundee United are going to be very well set up for this one. It's 100-30 and 7-2 for the draw in this game. If you fancy United to win, it's 13-2, and that price has actually been nibbled in from 8-1. So some people do fancy that. I think the way Jim will set up will be very well suited to getting a draw against Rangers, and it'll just depend on what sort of confidence levels Rangers show when they turn up at Tannadice on Saturday. And of course, they might be even further behind if Celtic have won their game on Saturday against Hearts, which we'll come to shortly. But I'm just going to very tempted by the draw price here. 100-30, 7-2, Dundee United against Rangers. Draw for me.
Interesting. You mentioned Celtic there, going great guns so far this season against a Hearts team who had a poor start to the season by their standards. It's a tough one for Stephen Naismith's side going to Celtic Park, but they did win there last season. Could they do it again?
Well, it seems a long time ago, David, doesn't it, that Hearts won at Celtic Park, and all recent form, you just could not fancy them to do so again this weekend. Celtic are 1-6, 6-1 on, £6 on to win £1. It's not going to attract too many people at that price, apart from the multiples backers. Hearts 16-1 with William Hill to win this game. As short as 10-1 with Bet365, but even 16-1. Who's really going to be tempted by that? I remember 2 weeks ago against the Rangers, I tipped Celtic at 6-4 to win that game. Remember, they were 8-13, but I tipped them at 6-4 with -1 on the handicap. That came up. And in this game, I am very, very tempted tipping Celtic -2 on the handicap. And you can back these 6-1 shots Celtic at 13-10 against -2 on the handicap. You can also back them at 21-20 to win to nil. But -2 goals at 13-10. That's the way I'm going to go with this one, because I just cannot envisage Hearts getting anywhere near Celtic on all known form at the moment, David.
I'm going to be going to St Mirren against Kilmarnock this weekend, Jim. I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good game between two good teams. Evenly poised or evenly matched from much of last season. Do you see anyone coming up trumps this weekend?
Well, the betting tells you, David, it's very evenly matched indeed. It's 12-5 the draw if you fancy sitting on the fence. 11-5 Kilmarnock if you think they've had enough time to recover after all their European exertions. Remember, they did get a 1-1 draw against Hibs 2 weeks ago after their European exit. St Mirren, though, I thought played much better than expected up at Dundee a couple of weeks ago. And they're 6-5 to win on home turf against Kilmarnock. They got that 2-2 draw at Dundee. We've now thrown Kevin Van Veen into the equation. We don't know if he would start or even be part of the plans for Saturday. But St Mirren at 6-5, I'm tempted, very tempted. 6-5 St Mirren to beat Killie.
Jimmy Tillin was the August Premiership Manager of the Month. I think it was a deserved award. There's a bit of a Swedish revolution going on up at Pittodrie. Motherwell, they cause teams problems. They've got a long journey up north. Aberdeen going for 10 successive wins, Jim, as we said. What do you think?
I'm going to contradict myself here, because I think Motherwell are a huge price at 4-1, because, I mean, they got that result 2-1 away to St Johnstone. All plaudits to them for doing that. So 4-1 is a big price about a Motherwell side in form. But I did tip Aberdeen at 19-20 to beat Ross County. They did rely on a very, very late goal from Kevin Nisbet, of course. Nisbet must be in the frame for a starting place this time. Aberdeen 4-6 on home turf against Motherwell. I just think, as you mentioned, Jimmy Thelen getting that Manager of the Month award and the momentum that Aberdeen will take into this game, I just think 4-6 on this occasion is decent value. Aberdeen to beat Motherwell.
I think every Friday for the last month we've said these words: David Gray badly needs a win as Hibs manager, Jim. So I'll say it again: is he going to get one at home to Craig Levein, who always gets such a warm reception at Easter Road?
I know. I'm not going to. I don't want to put the kibosh on Hibs, but I am going to tip them to win this game. They're 7-10 at Easter Road to beat St Johnstone, who are 4-1. St Johnstone, I just touched on there, 1-2 at home to Motherwell last time. I actually tipped Hibs to get that 12-5 draw at Kilmarnock a couple of weeks ago, but this time we're going to push the boat out and say that Hibs might win this game. 7-10. I don't think it's terrific value, but 7-10 is probably the right price, and I'll go for a Hibs home win.
I like watching Dundee. They're always free-flowing. They always score goals, as we spoke about last week. You know, I think it's been over 30 goals so far this season already. Simon Murray has been right in amongst it as well. He's gone back to his old club, Ross County, this weekend. Dundee go to Dingwall. How do you see that one going?
Well, I think it would be fair to say that Ross County could consider themselves unlucky not to have taken a point against Aberdeen. It was such a late goal, and obviously we saw all the Aberdeen fans celebrating in terrific style at Dingwall. Dundee, I think they would have been slightly disappointed with that 2-2 draw against St Mirren, but I think they're capable of going to Ross County and getting a result. Will that be the draw at 13-5, or will that be the win at 6-4? Well, I've been quite with Dundee this season. I'm going to stick with them again this weekend and take them to get that away win at 6-4. And you mentioned Simon Murray. Wouldn't it be appropriate if he was the one to score the winning goal? But 6-4 Dundee, even away from home, I think might be the way to go.
Thanks as always for your time, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much, David.
Thanks as always for joining us on Go Ballistic with the Scottish Sun. Please remember to like, please remember to subscribe to the Scottish Sun Sport YouTube channel. We'll be back on Monday with all the best review of the weekend's action. Thanks for now.